Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones, and let's drink some moon juice. Episode 12. And I kind of did this one out of order because I wanted the numbers to make sense. So we're kind of filling in some blanks from episode 10, I believe, and maybe even episode, I don't know. I don't remember what I've said when and where or how. So it might be, I know it's not like a full repetition, some things might be repetitive, but everything is so layered in my life and multiple lessons and wisdoms and cycles of it all. So, as I had mentioned in a few videos, I've done, I've had a thing called Wyrd healing. And it's something I've done on and off since I started my business. It's connected to my occupational therapy career. And as I talked about and posted about the life and death of my occupational therapy career, this also ties into the lesson and shedding, but also kind of like fucking brutal band-aid removal. Another sword. So this is like the Three of Swords, even though there's probably been 50 million swords in my fucking heart. This was definitely like a removal of a sword. It was ripping off the band-aid, pulling it out real fucking quick. This was painful. This is another painful experience in my life, but it was the final death of the identity and relationship and business connection that is my occupational therapy career and how it attaches to Wyrd healing and all of the above. So I'm gonna try not to jump all over the place. I'm gonna just try to just tell the story. So I left the clinic. I'm no longer at the clinic. He sucks. Confirmed that. My boss there was insane. And I just really needed to leave. And I had quite a few families. Every time I've left, I've worked with kids for a very long time. And anytime I've left a family, it's been brutal. They want to keep in touch. And I understand it's a really difficult boundary of like professionalism, but like you had so much like intimate care with this family, especially when I did home care. But the clinic wasn't much easier. Like you become family to the clients, especially when you work with them for such a long time. You don't work with people for like a day or a couple weeks. Sometimes you do, but most of the time with kids, you're with them for years. And I was with everyone for just about a year, a little over a year and a half, no, a year and 2 months, I think, to be technical. But so it was hard, and I offer tarot readings and I offer birth chart readings, and I have toyed around with all the different ways that I've tried to do it. I really experimented with the how. Am I going to do it in a written form, like a traditional eval, and write 50 pages for a person and charge $500 for this extensive personalized report, which goes into a lot of different things? Or am I going to do appointment based? And I started offering that in 23. So that, I think it just ties all into my Pisces Saturn return, if I'm going to be completely honest, which is tied into my career because my Pisces Saturn is in the 10th house. So it's deeply interwoven with career, which just connects more of the plot together of my life story and my occupational therapy career, where I took the acid and I quit the job and care first and this and that and blah blah blah, like all of it, which I probably could still yap about over and over again. So many different stories that further my experience. But to connect back to this story, I told families, you can stay in touch. If you need anything, let me know. Like I always let families know that they can keep my phone number and that they can connect to me and everything is cool, and that I want to continue to be there for them, but we also have to respect certain things. Like I'm no longer your therapist, so please respect my time. And it's always a difficult transition because I have never wanted any of the kids that I've worked with to feel abandoned, which is a projection of my own inner child abandonment wounds, but I never wanted them to feel abandoned. So I've always been delicate about how I've handled that situation, maybe overextending myself more than I should, but I don't regret doing it to make sure that those kids are safe and comfortable. to where they aren't traumatized in having to leave. They know that they can call me until they decide they don't want to call me anymore. Like, life happens. Like, people, they move on with their lives. Fortunately, and this goes into more of my story, but unfortunately, some of the times I lose connection with people because they find out the truth about me one way or another. Especially recently, and since I started my business in a more public direction. So when I started my business in 21, I was on like Instagram and TikTok and Etsy or whatever. It was, I wasn't like, it wasn't very obviously Sarah's doing witchcraft and selling witchy occult talismans and this and that, and it wasn't so obvious what I was doing. Even though it's been what I've been doing from the beginning, I have not hidden myself. Have I maybe not been as transparent? That arguably, like, I mean, I had my own like hesitancy in how much I was expressing myself. I had my own fears. I also had my own process of like even like discovering myself. A lot of this has been a huge self-discovery since 2018. So, since Christopher broke my heart and like broke up with me and all that, whatever that fucking situation was, it's been a lot of self-discovery, self-journey, and self-healing, and all of the above. So I don't feel like I have deceived anybody. I don't feel like I've been disingenuous about who I am and who I've been and my products and all of the above. I've always had like a witchy aesthetic to it, and then I just got more and more and more open and vocal about my thoughts, my ideology, my practice. And people love the aesthetic of what I do. They do not really seem to care for the philosophy, which is weird to me because I was under the impression that, you know, titles mean something, and if you're going to call yourself something, it's because you have a certain level of education and background. And I don't always fully formally believe in degrees, equating intelligence, gnosis, or skill, or expertise. I think that there are a lot of people who are experts through action, time, history, all of the above, like apprenticeships. And I think that that can be more valuable and important, significant, all the above, than a piece of paper, a degree with a well-rounded education of a bunch of filler bullshit classes that put you in debt and cognitively burned you out. So now you are just a robot on a hamster wheel and a revolving door doing what they want you to do. Kind of how I view all that in a nutshell. To get back on track, I just became more vocal about me. These are thoughts that I'm not shy about. I would tell people in voice notes or text messages, personal conversations, but I had a different presentation, expression online. And I was new to TikTok, but I wasn't new to social media. I've vlogged since Instagram and Facebook and MySpace came out. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. Sorry. I scooped my chip. So I've always like had a social media presence. I just never cared to do like influencer things. I just cared to post like what I wanted to post and be who I wanted to be. And this is just a fun side note. I remember my town, like I posted like feet in a bathtub with running water. It was supposed to be an aesthetic photo, and I'm not the only woman who's ever done that. However, it was a thing in my fucking small town in high school. I think I was a junior in high school. It was a big deal. It was such a big deal because my mom said something about it. I ended up having to delete it because it was sexual somehow. To me, it was relaxation. There was nothing sexy about it, but a dick in a butt, you know. Primal brain means erection. I don't fucking know. It's so stupid. But because so then people made fun of me. It was a whole big deal. And then I deleted it just for other fucking bitches to post those photos and not get the same hate that I did. This is a pattern. This goes into some of the videos I've talked about where I've been canceled and like the copycat syndrome. This has been like an energy that has haunted me. There's been like a sabotagery energy my whole life, one way or another. People argue it's my mom and her envy and just like other things. It could also be patriarchy and masculine womb envy. Like there's so many different things. Like I just know who I am. I'm ambitious, I'm intelligent, I'm funny. Like I'm not perfect, and I'm not everyone's favorite person. I have some unconventional, radical beliefs. I'm a difficult person to know, love, and be with. But I also, at the same time, know who I am. So I never understood some of these issues with people and experiences, but I feel like it's been a thing. So then on social media, there have been people who otherwise, they liked me at different phases of my life, different seasons of my life, but not really me at my core as a person. And that has always been a big struggle for me. I don't fully understand that, because if I like you as a person. I don't give a fuck about what phase you're going through. Like I guess I'm a morally gray person. I don't have the same morals as humans do. You know, like they say spiritual or spirits, deities, etc. don't have the same morals that humans do. I would argue I'm in the same boat, maybe in a different way, not in like a God complex kind of way, just like I don't understand people's perspectives sometimes. And I also don't understand the commitment to misunderstanding mine, no matter how much I explain it. But anyway, to bridge it all back, I love people for who they are, regardless of their aesthetical phase or what they're experimenting with in life. I'm pretty graceful when it comes to humans and their experiences. And dude, if at the end of the day, if I was you and I lived your life, I would most likely make the exact same decisions. If I were you, I would be you. So I'm not going to judge you, because I know what it's like to be me, and I also know how hard it is to have made the decisions I've made or the mistakes that I've made and all the above. And so you have to cross a really specific line for me to shift up on you, to either not like you in general, or to switch from liking you to not liking you. Like that change, that shift has to be diabolical in a sense. And it doesn't always make sense to people, which is quite the Aquarian thing. But anyway, so there are people who they discover something new about me, which has always been a part of me, and it doesn't change who I am. It's just another layer. I'm still an onion, whether it's the core layer or the outer layer. I'm still a fucking onion, okay? To bring Shrek into this. So people find out something new about me, and they hate me, and then they lose contact with me. That's happened in my career. That's how this all bridges together. This has happened in my career with families, kids that I have deeply, deeply loved and poured so much of my heart and soul into healing because of their diagnosis, because of my job, because of their humanity. I overextended myself to families who I felt like really needed it and deserved it. And the families who were indifferent, I poured my heart into them in a way that was tolerable for everybody. I feel like I'm really good at giving people what it is that they need, but especially kids. And so, however that worked out in my career, I don't have any regrets, even though there were times I probably wasn't the best therapist. But I still loved the family, like the parents, the kids, the patient, whatever it was. And so when it came to leaving the clinic, there was a few families that just stick with me, and I was like, hey, I can't do OT. There's all of these legal reasons. I was like, but I take on clients in other ways, and I do basically the mental health, human development, psychological, emotional regulation, nervous systems, all the things that I was doing as an occupational therapy assistant at the clinic, I am doing with my tarot readings and birth chart readings. I'm applying the same thing, and I'm trying to build a private clientele. And I was like, this is what I offer. If you want it, you can have it. And I only offered it to 2 kids because they were high functioning enough to do it. Everyone else, I was like, I know you want to stay with me, but ethically I can't. You need to stay here, and you need to get the therapeutic services that you and your child need. for where they're at. When they reach a certain level, if you want to come to me, then you can. And I was like, cool, I'm going to build a private practice. And I've always offered the clients, the tarot readings, the private, all of the things. I have always offered some version of that. One, because it's something that I know. Two, because it's something that everyone, including myself, would be like, oh, this could make you money. And until it was always a stepping stone, because I always worded it, well, I'll do this until my candles make enough money, my writing makes enough money, something else, some artistic thing made enough money. I'm only offering this as a way to get to what I really want to make money. But I was trying to replace the day job with like my own version of the day job, instead of just really focusing on, I guess, manifesting ultimately what it is that I really wanted to manifest, which is a writing career, an art career. As I mentioned, episode 11, like my Britney Spears inspiration and all of these fragments of myself I wanted to mold together into my expression of it, which is like, it's an artist. Like, if I had to summarize it, I would say artist is the title, because I don't want to just write. I don't want to just do candles. I don't want to just do fashion and this and that. I want to do all kinds of art things whenever I feel inspired to do them. But I was like, well, there was a limitation, there was doubt, there was all of the things where I was like, well, I'm not going to be there yet. It's not there yet, because here's the thing: if my candles haven't made me enough money, like, let's see, 21, almost 5 years into doing it, like, if I need to be more well-rounded or like balanced, that's why I offered so much, is I was trying to be well-rounded and well-balanced, instead of just, I guess, aligning with myself and trusting, which is the whole Pisces Saturn return, right, is releasing control. And then in the 10th house, that's career and resources. In that way, more Saturnian energy, right? So brutal lessons for how Saturn ruled I am. So between Saturn, Venus, and the moon, those are my core everything. Super fun. So anyway, I took on these kids and I put in a lot of work, and I was really excited to build that private practice. And I was like, hey, maybe this is what I meant to do, because my husband and I have had plenty of conversations, and a lot of people are like, I think you're meant to help kids. Really good with kids. There's this childlike thing about you. And I was like, yeah, so maybe this is it. And I did one like startup session with them, and then I did like the eval, the plan of care, but in like a mentorship program, and I did all of this work for 2 weeks. Just worked so hard. Just to send it to the parents to sign, just for them to, after, like, I mean, I've never hid my business from them. They didn't go to the flea market to see me, but they said that they've often said that they would have tried to stop by. I've showed them my candles before. I've talked to them about certain things. I knew that they were Christian, but it seemed like they were more open-minded Christian. Like they know my tattoos. And I'm not anti-Christian theology at its core, even though I'm talking about being anti-Christian and my anti-Christian movement and my anti-Christian God and the anti-Abrahamic religion cult. There's a lot into this, but like I do what Christians are supposed to do, and that's love thy neighbor. I genuinely love myself, so I genuinely love them, and I understand why they might have their Christian beliefs, or I've been there myself, like trying to open yourself up to other practices or this or that. It's intense. But I never felt like they would be, like, there were certain families I was like, I knew that they could not know about me in this way. And then some of those families ended up finding out about me anyway, and now there's like absolutely no contact or whatever. Oh yeah, hi buddy. And so, but this family, I really didn't think that would be the case. I thought that they were intelligent, grounded people who would at least have some separation of church and state, and like we have a professional relationship. Even though like you're moving on to my business, I'm not doing tarot readings, not doing birth chart readings. Like it's a personalized plan. That was kind of like what I've been doing. Every candle is individualized. Everything is individualized to meet the person where they're at. And that includes their religious and cultural background and beliefs. That's a huge part of what I had to learn in OT. Like in school, there were specific classes that we took for cultural, interpersonal communication and relationship building. And then through my culture shock of moving from the town I grew up in, Farmington, New Mexico, to Detroit, which that's a huge culture shock. It was a huge culture shock. One of my best friends, Shondell, he's half black, half Navajo. And then there's the Kaminkis, I believe, if I'm remembering. And then the Monisha. Like in my small town, there was like, I'm gonna say like 5 black families. It's probably expanded now, but growing up, like it was more Hispanic based, indigenous, Native American based, and white people. So then moving to Detroit, like with black culture and black families, but then a lot of Arabic families. I didn't really grow up with hardly any Arabic like culture in my like vicinity. So it really, but here's the thing, I never treated those people any other way than except human, and I asked them about like their culture and their history and their this, and I got to know them, and they cooked for me and I ate their food, and I have some dresses. Some of these families brought me back dresses from when they went to go visit their home country, and they came back and they brought me dresses and they jewelry and so many other like beautiful things, and I have them. And that's not cultural appropriation, that's cultural appreciation. Is so beautiful. And I love sharing the culture, and it helped me build a stronger connection to my own ancestral culture and myself, and like what I want, what traditions and cultural values I want to have for me, my family, my potential future children if I end up doing that. Like, I just don't understand how people weren't taking life the way that I was taking life, receiving life the way that I was receiving life, and just all the things that I was learning. And I was hoping that this family was going to be like that, but they found my website, which wasn't hidden from them at all. Like I wrote books for these kids. I have stories for them, and this situation it broke my heart. It hurt. Maybe not as much, but pretty painfully, as like when my brother had the same conversation with me about my nieces. My nieces asked for crystals, they asked for a magic card deck, and they wanted this and that, and I wrote stories for them. And Elena, my niece, she wanted to be a witch in her book, so I sent her a witch hat and a broom because she's a witch in her book, so it's like dress up. And anyway, I offended the fuck out of my family. And so there's just like some pretty strict boundaries between me and my relationship with my nieces, my influence over my nieces, because I'm a bad influence, and I'm going to ruin their Christian beliefs, which I've never projected my beliefs, or even, because I'm pretty vocal about my disdain for Christianity in a political, societal, occult perspective, not so much as like a philosophy and a theology at its core, at its historical core. Huge distinction, all right? My background in the church, I don't believe in church, and I'm not saying I don't believe in the Bible. I only believe in certain versions of the Bible, and I have an incredibly specific lens in which I read it, but I'm well studied in just theology in general, philosophy. I am open-minded, and I want to build bridges and connections with people, right? I want to heal the Tower of Babel if I had to express it in a more direct way. And so I know where my heart's been at, and I thought this family knew where my heart was at, because I was a gift from God. I was everything. I was the answer to their prayers. I had helped their kids so much. And same with my nieces. I have done so much for my nieces. I've never been allowed to do anything for my nephews. My younger brother's wife cut me off pretty early on, but my older brother's wife. I really love Alejandra, and I wish our relationship could be better with all of this. But as my cousin Lacey, my cousin Lacey has been the most supportive. If I'm going to talk about my cousins, she's been the most open-minded and supportive, and has her beliefs, but still has a lot of love and space for me. She's Pisces. But my cousin Lindsay, and she clearly stated to me, it's that my beliefs are pushing me away. How did she word it? But yeah, essentially my beliefs are pushing me away from everyone that I love, or keeping me from everyone that I love, separating me from everyone that I love. So well, obviously you guys don't love me because I'm not allowing it to separate us. And even when I disagree with you guys, I still support you and your choices. I'm honest about my opinion if you ask me for it. Sometimes even if you don't ask me for it, and it's usually because I genuinely care about you and I want to make sure you're making a solid decision for yourself. But a great example of that is I have my own set of philosophical and political beliefs when it comes to the police. And my brother, for a while, was a cop until he got cancer. Went to his swear-in thing, like his graduation, and I supported him. I don't have it anymore, but I had back the blue stuff just because it supported my brother. And it's like, oh, well, you don't really stand for your beliefs then. It's like, no, I do stand for my beliefs, but my beliefs are rooted in loving my family. That is a priority belief. That is a foundational value. When it comes to all kinds of other things, like arguably, well, hey, if my brother is a cop, then maybe me having conversations with him and him being like, I get a real in the field perspective. So I get pretty strong constructive feedback through conversation, but then maybe my questions and insights and whatever could influence him, inspire him to be the kind of cop that you want. If you want police, that's the kind of policeman you want out there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have malicious, I don't have this weird connection to things that people do. And I'm not gonna allow my personal days to come between me and family or friends or fellow humans. Like, if I really disagree with you that much, I'm genuinely I'm gonna avoid that conversation with you. I'm gonna avoid you all. Like, we just can't fight. If I can't relate to you on anything, like, every time I see you, we're in a fight. But that's what I just didn't understand. Is like, why are we always fighting? Like, there's just, and I know it's a lot more nuanced, and like specific stories would paint a much better picture. But I've really struggled with this, and to me, it's one of the most harmful, abusive things that can be done to anyone. It's the exile. It's the isolation chamber. It's being outside of the tribe. Like, that's a deeply ancestral human fear and condition, is you fall in line because you're afraid to get exiled from the tribe. And that's like the story of Lucifer. And that's a brutal story, and that's a brutal place to be in. I have been exiled from everyone that I was born into and that I love. My tribe kicked me out and turned their back on me because I was different than them. And I think that that's one of the worst things that you can do as a living being, especially when you're a supposed Christian. That is my problem. At its core with Christians is they preach love and harmony and unity, but they're all about conquer and divide and like a hierarchy, and it's all about suppressing and oppressing the shadow and putting on a mask that's like not genuine. It's saving face, and it's all these things to appear to be perfect and holy and this and that, and I don't want any of it. And so anyway, this family found my website. I did have a beautiful, this was the best rejection. It's still rejection. That's why it still hurts, and that's why it's still so painful. But out of everyone who's rejected me for my beliefs, this was the most peaceful and loving. At the end of the day, I don't believe any type of rejection in this way is love. Because I verified with them. I was like, I didn't deceive you in any way. I didn't project my beliefs onto you. I didn't lie to you. I've taken really good care of your kids. Again, I was a gift from God. I was the answer to your prayers. The only thing that's changed is you know that I'm technically not a Christian. My family, you technically know that I'm not a Christian. Of course, they don't like other things. They don't like how I dress. They don't like the nude photography. They don't like how much I cuss, or they don't like this, or they don't like that. Fine, but I also have professional boundaries. So to this family, I was like, I didn't cross any professional boundaries. I've been true to myself. The only difference is you saw my email, had my business name, and you went and looked at my business page, and you saw things you didn't like, and you made judgments about me, and you were like, well, it goes against our beliefs, and so we have to cut ties relationally. And I can respect that and move on. My point of talking about it is not only to just like, I guess, vent about it in that sense of what's healing, but it's a really hard place to be, not just because it hurts you as a human, but like ethically, that there's no integrity, there's no ethics, there's no moral, there's no love in that. You strictly are breaking up our relationship that was otherwise healthy and positive simply because I'm not a Christian. So if you came to me for life-saving surgery, you would die because I'm not a Christian. Even if I have my own healed, peaceful relationship and connection to Jesus, and I am not a devil worshiper in this Christian context, it doesn't matter that my heart's been the same. You have known my heart from the moment you met me, and that is blasphemy. So my whole point of that is blasphemy, which is like the ultimate sin, is you see God before you and you spit in his face. You deny God before you. I am God before you. I am a child of God before you. I was a gift from God. You said it to me in multiple texts, praise after praise after praise. Your children love me deeply. I deeply love your kids in the most appropriate, healthy dynamic. I am helping these kids. I'm inspiring these kids. And you don't want me to inspire your children because I'm technically not a Christian, even if I would encourage them I wouldn't encourage them to be a Christian or to not be a Christian. I would encourage them to discover the truth for themselves. And whatever their conclusion is, I would encourage them to trust themselves. That is my approach to all spiritual things. The father expressed his background in spirituality. He didn't start a Christian path till he was 29. But he had the audacity to express an understanding of these new age and historical blah blah blahs in spirituality, right? But he's like, we fail to see the connection into Jesus and his teachings and the teachings of the Bible. He goes, church is different. And it's like they automatically assume that I went to a bad church and the church did me wrong, so I'm against the church, and this is just a rebellion thing, and I don't actually understand Christianity. And this is emotion coming out. They did not insinuate this necessarily, but I just couldn't believe the audacity to say that you understand a background in astral projection and New Age principles and all of this stuff. And I'm not even a New Ager, by the way, but there is New Age stuff, and that's a whole other thing. But you say you have a knowledge of this stuff, but you fail to see the connection to the Bible in it, when all religion comes from the same source of God, comes from the same place. It's just branched off. The seed, the core is still the same. It just has all these branches, and some of the branches, some of the roots are dead and broken and rotted and gross. And I feel like most modern Christian practices and brainwashing, the Christian National Conservatist movement, that's like a cult, that's not genuine, authentic Christian principle and philosophy and value. And these self-righteous Christians have this moral superiority, and it's like, well, I have to break free from you relationally because you are going to taint my pureness, when this situation is a karmic example of how you're the impure one. I'm not. I didn't taint you. In fact, I was here to absolve you. Metaphorically speaking, my essence, my teaching, the nurturing, the love, everything that I was doing was answers to your prayers, and you slap God in the face with it, if in this Christian context, based off of how you responded, even though it was respectful and cordially separated. This was the most polite way it's happened to me. It has not happened to me politely with other people, but I want to make it clear that especially when it comes to the children that have been ripped away from me, those children love me. I love those children. They will grow up. They will have a mind of their own. The stories that I wrote them, everything is well documented. They will find the truth out one way. I don't know how my brothers, I don't know, or these parents, I don't know how anyone has told people about me. I can't control that. but I know that the truth will be set free, especially with the internet and all of the above. And I want parents to know that that is the worst form of child abuse that you could ever have. You're teaching your children that someone who is good for them and to them is bad because they're not a Christian. You're teaching them that everyone who is different from them is bad and evil. That is not healthy. And you're teaching people that you have to be in cliques and tribes, and you can't intermingle in the world. That is the biggest problem within society, is we have all of these like false delusional territories and divisions when we're all human species, and we all need to get along together the same way that we expect multiple breeds of dogs to get together at a dog park. Dogs of multiple breeds and personalities and cultures and this and that and blah 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 can all get together at a dog park under the supervision of their human. So can children, so can humans. We can all get along and we can all love people. That's the whole point of like loving thy neighbor and seeing the God within everybody, regardless of how they choose to express it, and allowing people to build their own relationship to God without punishing them. Cutting ties with me from this loving union is a punishment. It's punishment to the children, it's punishment to me. And it's basically saying, well, until you conform and become a Christian, then you don't have access to this love, this experience, these benefits. And you're gonna remain exiled, you're going to remain othered. And that is my problem with Christianity, and why I maintain a stance of deconstructed Christian theology, and I will maintain a title of anti-Christian until Christianity reharmonizes with itself and what Jesus actually wanted. Because Jesus is a rebel. He rebelled against the Jews. Look at the repetitive cycles of disappointed elder generations with the radical rebel of the new generation, which mirrors in Jesus and Lucifer, which I've talked about before. Multiple people have talked about that before. And with my 12th episode conclusion, I just want it to be known that that is where I come from about Christianity. It doesn't mean I'm not knowledgeable in Christianity. I'm perfectly educated. I have a whole background, not just in the church, but studying the philosophy. And I would argue, and I have been told, that I am a better Christian than all of you self-proclaimed Christians. And if you really want to be a Christian, if you really want to be a child of God, open up your hearts and your minds to people who are different than you. And if they are not doing anything that is truly violently harmful to someone and abusive to someone, or an abusive abusive to a vulnerable party in any way, they're harmless. If they are not doing harm, you are not to fear them, you are not to demonize them, and you are not to hate them, and you are to welcome them into your life. Love thy neighbor. And it's because you don't love yourself, it's because you're envious and jealous and angry and all of the above, that someone else can be free and you can't. That this person can be this way and still be honored and loved by God, but you can't. You have to fit into a box. I don't have to fit into a box. I don't have to seek any certain level of approval. I already have the approval of God because I was created to be the way that I was. I already have His approval. You have, I would argue, the Christians who constantly have these behaviors, you are losing His approval. You are tainting yourselves. You are selling your own soul by not coming from a true place of unconditional love, which is the real teachings of Jesus. So again, to not see the love and mirrored theology in paganism and Christianity and all religion, when most religions, at the end of the day, that is what they're talking about. It's going through all of these different stories and paths and journeys to conclude to the same source. Either way you look at it, as above, so below, either way, it's love. So I hope that kind of clears some stuff up for people on the anti-Christian thing, or where I'm coming from, and also why that is the removal of me doing any type of client-based services. I'm shifting how things are going, and this goes into like my weird hibernation. I'm retiring some designs, so if you missed out on them, those are rare collectible things. I'm no longer printing my books the way that I'm printing them. I have new t-shirt designs. There's still a couple that might stay, but most things are being retired. I'm shifting how I'm doing absolutely everything. And again, so no tarot readings, no birth chart readings, no personal one-on-one clients of any kind. The old ways can no longer serve me. And that includes everything that is built from my occupational therapy career model. And that is clientele in that way. I'm moving more towards an artistic clientele service. And with that shift, there's not appointments and this and that, and things are just gonna be wildly different. And I had to go through this one last horrifically painful time to find a way to put myself out there, protect myself from these heartaches, while also doing what I'm supposed to do, which is healing others. But putting stuff out there that allows people to connect with me just in a better way. I want to reserve those deeply personal, interpersonal relationships for like my husband, my family, friends who genuinely love me. I have a really hard time, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to really build. I don't think I meant to. I don't think I meant to build this professional boundary of emotion. And so to protect myself from how much I pour my heart into people, I can't have individual clients in that way. And that includes intuitive curations, where I really connect with people on a personal basis and create them something. I'm gonna do something more. I'm still gonna make my intuitive designs, but it's going to be more of like a budget tier, similar, but like I'm picking an already made candle and like gifting it to you in like in a gift box. Because every tier, it's not just the candle, it's the candle, and then it's a whole witchy sachet of things. So it's a whole ritual talisman like gift box, and it's gonna have the candle in there, but I'm not gonna talk to people about it. They can let me know certain things, like, hey, I really hate peppermint fragrance, please don't pick out a peppermint. That's totally fine. I don't mind stuff like that, but I'm not going to be cultivating individual plans. I'm not gonna, however that's fucking worded, I'm not gonna be curating individual things anymore. I'm going to create from a place of my own self-love, and then it's going to be kind of like a mystery box. So you have your budget, and you're going to get a intuitive bundle within your budget. And I don't even know if I'm going to commit to that. Once the solstice hits, through at least in bulk, my birthday, because my birthday's just after in bulk, at least through my birthday, I'm not really going to be doing anything. I'm enjoying a break and a vacation and a hibernation. And so once, February, March start to roll around and I get a good feel for things, will be when the permanent changes are. But I'm definitely just letting people know I'm planting the seeds, the intentions, whatever. The resolutions that I will be shifting a lot of things moving forward, out of self-preservation, out of self-love, and for divine alignment of who I'm really meant to be. And I can heal people in different ways, and I think art is the best way to heal the most amount of people, because they get to take what they want from it. I'm not necessarily controlling what they take from it, which is kind of what you do when you're on an individual client basis. Even if you're trying not to control things, you're still having to build the plan and execute outcomes and stuff like that. Where when you create a piece of art, it kind of takes on a life of its own that I think is special. And that's kind of what I want to focus more of my time on. And so yeah, it was a painful lesson. It was devastated. I think it triggered a deep somatic release. Like my nieces, when that happened last year, Christmas time last year, I cried pretty monstrously. Like, talk about the flood of Noah through my tears, man. And oh my gosh, sorry, I was just reflecting on just like the pain and the wrath and all the stuff that like I remember and recognize Chad watching me just like break down in that way. I wouldn't let him hold me, I wouldn't let him console me. I just like locked myself away and just cried, and you just heard me sobbing. And then with these kids, in this more, not in a familial way, but still they remind me of my nieces, so that I kind of saw it coming in a way. But so that was like the initial, and then this was, I guess, like the end. More of like a somatic release, like a real core release. It was still painful, not as painful as my nieces, as far as it being like initial, but still torturous. Obviously not intolerable, because I tolerated it, but yeah, I never want to go through something like that again. And I don't think that I'm necessarily going to on an intimate personal level. I definitely am going to have to deal with it on a global level, because I'm sure through voicing everything that I voice, I'm going to upset some Christians, and that's not in my control either. I really don't want to upset people. I want people to come together in some way, but I'm definitely just being honest about how I feel and what I think and my experience. That's just kind of my conclusion about all of that. I think Christian families should do better in teaching their children to welcome those who are different than them. Not just Christian families, I think all families. This goes, well, every Abrahamic religion. But even atheists are intolerable. There are atheists who can't stand people who have like any type of theistic belief. And so I hate everybody on all planes. For someone who's supposed to be a beam of love, I sure have a lot of resentment and hate for the world because of just how they choose to react. I just couldn't imagine being a rose and being pissed off that a dandelion exists. It's fucking off over there doing its own thing, and I'm just fucking mad. Now, I do understand why a rose or anything else might be upset about mint, because mint is invasive and it takes over everything. So as long as mint stays in its lane, there's really no need to be pissed. You know, like, for more metaphors to simplify it, like, how simple are we gonna have to make it before the world really has like a genuine change and how we interact with people on a personal, intimate, day-to-day basis, professional or otherwise, you know, like familially, because professional boundaries, you can only have a professional boundary go so far until it runs into humanity. At some point, it's no longer about being a professional, it's about being a fucking human being to another human being. And we have lost the plot on that. We have roboticized ourselves where we are neglecting the humanity, all for the professionalism. And I won't tolerate it any further, in my life at least. I can only control my life, but I'm hopefully gonna inspire others to feel the same or do the same for themselves. So anyway, I think I've said everything that I want to say about that. Maybe, who knows? I'm sure it'll come back up again, but I just wanted to release that and teach from that place of genuine pain and grief. I hope that all the kiddos who I no longer work with, if you ever see this, I hope that you know that I genuinely love you, and I hope you're living your dreamiest life, full of success for who you are, autistic, ADHD, or otherwise. I worked with a lot of disabled or delayed children, and I hope that they're thriving in every way, shape, or form, and they love themselves for who they are, and they find an empowering place in this world. And for my kids who are less severe or who are more typically leaning, who just needed some emotional support and some mental health therapy, I also wish that you find everything that you're looking for. And for every kid I wrote a story for, please hold that dedication deep in your heart. I want that to follow you as you age and develop, and have an anchor to that inner child self that I fought like hell to hold on to for myself. I held on to my anchor deeply, painfully, and now I don't have to worry about my anchor anymore. So that's like a real fun thing. So cheers everybody. Thanks for drinking some moon juice.